Nestled deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, the small town of Valor Ridge bore the scars of a brutal history. Decades ago, during the fervor of World War II, the town was a bustling hub, sending its bravest sons and daughters to the front lines. Today, Valor Ridge stands as a quiet reminder of sacrifices made and the heavy price of peace. Every Memorial Day, the town gathered to honor the fallen, but this year, the echoes of the past would return to haunt them. Chapter 1: The Unveiling. The sky was overcast as Valerie Thompson, historian and native of Valor Ridge, prepared for the town's annual Memorial Day ceremony. Valerie had recently uncovered a series of letters and diaries belonging to soldiers from Valor Ridge who had fought in World War II. Among these documents was a particularly intriguing piece, a journal belonging to Sergeant Thomas "Tommy" Greaves, who had gone missing in action during the war. Excited about her find, Valerie decided to share Tommy's story at the ceremony. She believed it would bring a new depth to their commemoration, a personal touch that would resonate with the townspeople. Little did she know, this revelation would stir something long buried. Chapter 2: The Gathering. The town square was filled with residents, young and old, gathered to pay their respects. The old war monument stood proudly at the center, adorned with wreaths and flags. Valerie took the stage, her voice steady as she began to read from Tommy's journal. May 3, 1943. Today we march into enemy territory. The fear in our hearts is heavy, but our resolve is unbroken. For Valor Ridge, for our loved ones, we will fight till our last breath. The words painted vivid images of bravery and sacrifice. The crowd listened in rapt silence, many with tears in their eyes. As Valerie reached the final entry, she paused. June 6, 1944. D-Day. We landed on Omaha Beach. Chaos and death surround us. I've lost many brothers today. But something else haunts me, an eerie whisper, a chill that grips my soul. It's as if the spirits of the fallen are calling out, warning us of something far more sinister. The wind picked up, rustling the trees. Valerie shivered, a sudden sense of unease washing over her. She closed the journal and looked up, only to see the worried faces of the townspeople. An elderly man, Henry, who had served in the war, stepped forward. There's more to Tommy's story, Valerie. Much more that we never speak of, he said, his voice trembling. Chapter 3: The Revelation. Later that evening, Valerie visited Henry at his home. The old man seemed reluctant, but finally, he began to speak, revealing a tale shrouded in secrecy and fear. Tommy was one of the bravest soldiers I've ever known, Henry began. But what happened on Omaha Beach was beyond comprehension. We weren't just fighting the enemy, we were fighting something supernatural. Henry described how, amid the gunfire and explosions, some soldiers claimed to see apparitions, ghostly figures of fallen comrades, their eyes empty and mouths open in silent screams. These apparitions seemed to guide some soldiers to safety while leading others to their deaths. Tommy saw them too, Henry continued. He believed these spirits were trying to communicate, to warn us about a great evil. But before he could uncover the truth, he vanished. Some say he was captured, others believe he was taken by these spirits. Chapter 4: The Investigation. Determined to uncover the truth, Valerie began to investigate further. She delved into military archives, interviewed surviving veterans, and pieced together the fragments of Tommy's life and disappearance. The more she uncovered, the more she felt a chilling presence, as if she was being watched. One night, while sifting through old records in the town's library, Valerie found a hidden compartment in Tommy's journal. Inside was a letter addressed to his family, written just days before his disappearance. "Dear Mother and Father, if you're reading this, know that I love you dearly. Our fight here is not just against flesh and blood, but against the very fabric of our reality. There are forces at play that I do not understand. Should I not return, remember me not as a victim, but as a soldier who faced the unknown." As she read the letter, the lights flickered, and a cold draft swept through the room. Valerie felt a presence behind her. She turned, but there was no one there. Heart pounding, she decided it was time to confront whatever haunted her town. On the night of Memorial Day, Valerie gathered a small group of trusted friends and Henry at the Old War Monument. Armed with Tommy's journal and a determination to uncover the truth, they began a midnight vigil. As the clock struck 12, a dense fog rolled in, and the air grew icy. The group huddled together, their breaths visible in the cold. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and ghostly figures emerged from the mist. These apparitions, clad in tattered uniforms, were the soldiers of Valor Ridge. Among them was Tommy Greaves. His spectral form approached Valerie, eyes filled with a mix of sorrow and urgency. He began to speak, his voice echoing through the night. "We were trapped, not by the enemy, but by the echoes of our own fears and regrets. Our spirits could not find peace, and we were bound to this place, reliving our final moments. But you, Valerie, have the power to break this cycle." Valerie, trembling but resolute, asked how she could help. Tommy extended his hand, and she took it, feeling an intense cold. In that moment, visions flooded her mind, scenes of battle, death, and despair. But amidst the chaos, she saw a glimmer of hope. "You must remember us," Tommy said. "Tell our true stories, honor our memories, and let go of the fear. Only then can we find peace." The next day, Valerie addressed the town once more. She shared the full story of the soldiers, their bravery, and the supernatural forces they encountered. She spoke of the need to remember them not just as fallen heroes, but as souls seeking peace. The townspeople listened, their hearts heavy but united. As Valerie finished, a warm light seemed to envelop the square, and a sense of calm settled over Valor Ridge. The spirits of the soldiers, including Tommy, appeared one last time, their faces now peaceful. "Thank you," Tommy whispered, before fading into the light. In the years that followed, Valor Ridge flourished. The annual Memorial Day ceremony became a celebration of life and remembrance, honoring not just the fallen but their stories and sacrifices. Valerie continued her work as a historian, ensuring that the true tales of bravery and the supernatural were never forgotten. And though the echoes of the past still lingered, they were no longer a source of fear. Instead, they served as a reminder of the enduring strength and resilience of the human spirit. The town of Valor Ridge had faced the unknown and emerged stronger, bound together by the memories of their Every year on Memorial Day, the town of Willowbrook came alive with remembrance. Flags fluttered on every porch, and the town square hosted solemn ceremonies to honor the fallen soldiers. Among the sea of faces at the annual event was 17-year-old Clara Thompson, a history enthusiast with a penchant for uncovering the past. Clara's family had lived in Willowbrook for generations. Her great-grandfather, Captain Samuel Thompson, had fought in World War II, and his legacy was a point of pride for the family. Clara was particularly drawn to her great-grandfather's stories and kept his old war diary as a treasured possession. She loved history and aimed to pursue a career as a historian. This year, Clara had a special project in mind. She planned to create a detailed exhibit of Willowbrook's wartime history for her school's history fair, focusing on the town's unsung heroes. Clara spent hours in the local library, poring over old newspapers and archives. One afternoon, she stumbled upon a dusty, forgotten box labeled Willowbrook War Records. Inside, she found a stack of old documents, letters, and photographs. As she sifted through them, one name caught her eye: Private James Carter. James Carter was a name Clara had never heard before. Intrigued, she decided to dig deeper. She discovered that James had been declared missing in action during World War II. Despite his disappearance, there was no record of his memorial in the town. Clara felt a strange connection to this forgotten soldier and made it her mission to uncover his story. Clara's investigation led her to an abandoned farmhouse on the outskirts of Willowbrook, once owned by the Carter family. She decided to visit the house, hoping to find more clues about James's life. The house, dilapidated and covered in ivy, stood as a silent witness to the passage of time. Clara felt a chill run down her spine as she stepped inside, the wooden floorboards creaking under her weight. She wandered through the dusty rooms, her flashlight casting eerie shadows on the walls. In the attic, she found an old trunk filled with mementos of the past, letters, photographs, and a worn-out journal. As she opened the journal, a gust of wind blew through the attic, extinguishing her flashlight. The room plunged into darkness, and Clara felt an inexplicable sense of dread. She quickly relit her flashlight and continued reading the journal, which contained James's final entries before he went missing. The journal entries were haunting. James wrote about his fears and the horrors he witnessed on the battlefield. His last entry, however, was different. He described a strange occurrence during a night patrol. "I saw something tonight, something that defies explanation. A figure, shrouded in mist, beckoning me into the woods. I followed, compelled by an unseen force, but lost my way. I fear I may never return. Clara's heart raced as she read those words. She felt a strange compulsion to visit the woods mentioned in James's journal. Determined to uncover the truth, she decided to explore the area the next day. The woods were dense and foreboding, with gnarled trees casting long shadows on the forest floor. Clara followed the path described in the journal, her heart pounding with each step. As she ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence enveloped her. She reached a small clearing where the trees seemed to bend and twist unnaturally. In the center stood an old, moss-covered stone monument with a barely visible inscription, "In memory of the forgotten." As Clara examined the monument, she felt a sudden chill and heard a faint whisper in the wind. She turned around, but no one was there. The whisper grew louder, repeating the same phrase, "Remember me." Clara's flashlight flickered, and she saw a figure in the distance, shrouded in mist, just as James had described. The figure moved closer, and Clara's fear turned to curiosity. She called out, "James? Is that you?" The figure stopped and extended a ghostly hand. Clara felt an overwhelming sense of sadness and longing emanating from it. She reached out, and as their hands touched, a flood of memories and emotions surged through her mind. She saw James's life flash before her eyes, his childhood in Willowbrook, his departure for war, and his final moments in the woods, lost and alone. The figure spoke, its voice echoing in Clara's mind, "Thank you for remembering me. I have been lost for so long. Help me find peace." Clara nodded, tears streaming down her face. She promised to honor James's memory and ensure he would never be forgotten again. Clara returned to the town with a renewed sense of purpose. She shared James's story with the community, and together they decided to add his name to the town's memorial. On Memorial Day, a special ceremony was held to honor Private James Carter. As the townspeople gathered around the newly erected plaque, Clara felt a sense of fulfillment. During the ceremony, Clara noticed a familiar figure standing at the edge of the crowd. It was James, his ghostly form now serene and at peace. He gave Clara a grateful nod before slowly fading away. Clara knew that James had finally found the peace he deserved. Clara's project was a success, earning her top honors at the history fair. More importantly, she had restored a piece of Willowbrook's history and brought closure to a forgotten soldier's story. James's legacy lived on, not just as a name on a plaque, but as a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who fought for freedom. Every year, Clara visited the woods where she first encountered James's spirit, leaving flowers at the stone monument. She knew that the past was never truly gone, and it was up to the living to remember and honor those who came before. Years later, Clara became a renowned historian, dedicating her life to preserving the stories of the past. She often told her students about James Carter, the forgotten soldier who taught her the importance of remembrance. And every Memorial Day, as the town of Willowbrook gathered to honor their heroes, a gentle breeze would rustle the leaves in the woods, and Clara would smile, knowing that James was still watching over them, his memory forever etched in the hearts of those who remembered. In the end, the story of James Carter was not just about a lost soldier, but about the power of memory and the enduring legacy of those who fought and fell, reminding us all to never forget.